Hey everybody, welcome back to Markets and Sectors. It's great to have you here today. My name is Mike Fairborn, and folks, we'll be looking at the markets today. Some of the sectors, as a matter of fact, we're starting to see some shifts from some of the equal weight companies that are starting to lead the way, not so much in technology, but in other areas like the S&P 500. Also want to take a look at big picture observations of growth versus value. What's interesting is what you might see some of those other sectors that might start leading the way, but that really depends on a few different items. So we'll see. We'll take a look at it. I would like to welcome you all here. As I've mentioned, hello to you, Ray, as well as Jay Richardson. We've got Mystical. We've got Kevin Riceberg. Great to have you on board. Scott, aloha to you as well. We've got Robert, Greg Beth Wrong, and Riceberg again. Fantastic. I think we are near another all-time high in the markets here. What's interesting is we are getting that shift, though, maybe coming in from maybe some of those companies that have been dragging a little bit. It'll be interesting to kind of point out some details and maybe some areas to keep an eye on for this week, the remainder of this week, and into next week. Always keeping in mind September, seasonally speaking, is one of those worst months. And so I want to dive on into this, but before doing so, I'd like to recognize a good friend of mine and colleague in the chat, Mr. Cameron May. You'll notice him there as CM in the chat. Cameron May. As he's noted here, you can follow us on X, Cameron May, CS. Got to spell that right. Mike Fairborn, CS, to get us. We do have a couple of imposters out there. Okay, maybe like 5 or 10. There are a few out there, but yeah, you want to get those right if you're not already following us. We do post financially related content as well as other information too. But with that, let's get the show started here and get going with some disclosures real quick. We'll dive on into it. Information here is provided for general information purposes only. Now, Schwab does not recommend the use of technical analysis as sole means of investment research. Paper money software application is for education purposes only. Investing does involve risk, including for some products more than your original investment. Always keep that in mind. What you're investing in can play, obviously, a key role listed there. Now, I do have some notes here specifically as to futures. Be mindful of that. We do not trade futures in this class, but I wanted to state that, we do look at the futures charts. They are helpful. They are quite informative, as you go through that. And be mindful of it. But just a quick note, futures and futures options trading does involve substantial risk. It is not suitable for all investors. Final notes here as we look at it. Past performance is no guarantee of future results as well. Okay, well, diving on into things here. Oh, excellent. There we go. Perfect. All right. Well, let's jump on in and get started here with a few different items. Let me go ahead and first off, before we do anything with that, I'm going to go ahead and just dive in over here and take a look, not at that stock in particular, but just generally big picture SPX. By the way, this company, hey, maybe it's coming out of a range right now. Who knows? It does have earnings coming up. It's been in the sideways range for a little while there. Just as a side note, it's one we've been tracking in the swing trading class. But here you go. I think it was Riceberg said, hey, are we trading up to an all-time high? All-time high. Great way to do that. Just throw on your weekly chart, your monthly chart. That's not the monthly chart. Here is your monthly chart, 15-year monthly. Yeah, that is going to be an all-time high. We are hitting all-time highs again today. Really, really interesting. Now, I did want to see, because we are doing that, just referencing over here, what does the ES show us specifically as it does relate to maybe money flow? How does money flow look? How does that culmination or that combination of money flow relative to total volume out there when we're looking at kind of cumulative volume? Are we also seeing highs? Well, I'm going to zoom in even more, but it appears that we are seeing highs. Now, I did have to use the ES over here, folks, because, yeah, futures, like I said, we use futures, utilize them because they do provide volume. Now, this is not the index. This is the E-mini S&P 500 index futures, still based on those same 500 companies, right? Couldn't have the index without those 500 companies. That's what it's based on. But I was just curious, because sometimes what can happen is you can get like this indicator here, sort of melting on down. And that, folks, is, well, that's necessarily based on that indicator. That's a no good. That's no good. That's not what we're seeing here. In other words, volume is trending higher with prices. Some people will use other indicators too. A short-term mover from a more of a momentum sort of trade might be the Chaikin money flow, for example, combines the RSI in there. But actually, gosh, can I even zoom in further? Yes, I can. Now it's full screen. But you can see over here, I mean, technically we did break out above that high. Geez, that's too thick to see. But you did make a new high here. In other words, we continue to go on up higher. And that, folks, is all else equal for those people that do utilize a volume indication, whether it's on balance volume, money flow, or some of those others. That would be considered an indication of being positive. Now, it is only just one indicator, right? But we wanted to just see how that's doing as you're making new highs. It's always kind of a cool reference to sort of make there. Well, let's dive right into the NDX. And yes, that is going to be making an all-time high as well. Let's go up. I know I was in there. I hit the wrong one at the monthly. Okay, that can happen sometimes when they're so close together, but that's why I was seeing a 5-minute when I was over here on my weekly. There you go. So there's a good quick read there. You can see that that is an all-time high here on the NASDAQ 100. So technology doing well, and technology has really led the way higher in so many different ways, but it's going up. This is going to be fascinating too, because we're going to be able to take a look at seasonality here. Seasonality can be strong in August, but generally in September it's weak. Park that in the back of your minds. We'll see seasonality oftentimes is sideways, but there is some up and down in August as well. All right, well, here is a chart. We've thrown this out here before. We've looked at this one plenty of times, but I wanted to look at a different one. Let's see, NDX. Why is the NDX up there? I'm going to refresh this guy. We'll put this back down here. And actually, I'm going to pull up a third chart too. Wait a second. Hang on. Oh, that's okay. Let's do this. We'll go right back to it. We'll take a look at our grid here momentarily. A separate grid I have pulled up. Actually, let's do this real quick. I wanted to look over here first, under the market watch app. There's a couple of different ways to look at this. First and foremost, let's just look and see categorically how we're doing over here as we combine each of these together a little bit. And as I wanted to show everybody how we're doing over the past 5 days. That's a percent change 5-day over here, and you can see that. Okay, it's interesting. It's a bit interesting. We did have the material sector lead the way in discretionaries. Now, infotech over the last 5 days just started to beat out healthcare, which bounced back nicely. What was interesting about 10 minutes before we started our class here is that these top 3 today were also in the top 3 over the past 5 days. It's somewhat interesting because materials, M for short, and healthcare down here do have some of the value type trades out. What could be categorized as an S&P value type trade. There are different indices or groupings that the S&P 500 does have itself, where you'll see growth relative to value. I actually had that chart up, but I erased it. That's okay. What I'm going to do is just go under here. I've saved it as a style. I'm going to actually share it with everybody if you guys want it. But it's simply just growth and value S&P right there. Now, I think it's doing something different. It's based on the energy sector there. Oh, wow. Oh, well, I might have messed that up. I'm going to start over with just like something like this, and I'm going to go back down to it and see if I can load up a style over here in terms of a 4th chart. Yeah, let me try this. We'll get this set up here just momentarily. That one's open, but if I just type in, like it's actually $sign SP 500. Let's see, PG for growth. There's the growth. Now, if I come down here and I go under my style and go into that growth, anyways, I'm not getting the one that I'd saved previously. That's a real bummer. I'd flip that chart. That's okay. I'm going to do also a a comparison here. We'll just do a quick comparison chart. And we're going to compare this with a line, which is $ SP 500 PV for PV. PV for value. That's what the V is there for. Let's compare these two. Look what value's done. This is really interesting. We haven't had a spike in value for quite some time. This is the grouping that the S&P uses. So they have a grouping, S&P 500, but this is strictly based upon value. Now, these are value type stocks. Getting a little delay there on my drawing tool, but there you have it. Value. Look at that spike. That is interesting. So what in that group is really spiking? Well, we're going to take a look at some sectors here now and kind of try to highlight where some of that value might have been and see what's moving. Okay, that is a really gigantic move. In fact, you can see over here, just over from the 11th. So the last 2 days, I mean, it's been an astonishing move. We're really moving up in the value, 9.5%. So those have been low. Some of them have been breaking off the bottom. Let's dive right now into our sector grid charts, and I'll show this to you, and we'll see what we get. Okay, I'll actually had them up here too. That's a little bit bigger screen. Cool. All right. Now notice over here, we do have with materials. Now materials has led the way for the past 5 days. The 5-day percent is the highest for materials. It too, again, is having a good day. It's up 1.69%. In fact, it is the leader on the day. Now you'll also see that the other three are the leaders. I don't know why that on the day, but you can see over here, look at it. So consumer discretionary, let me just change the colors here, see a little bit easier on the background. Discretionary, materials, and healthcare. These are the leaders right now. Now I highlight this because it's not just today, it's the last 5 days. It's a 5-day percent, 5-day percent, not 5%, but a 5-day percent, 5-day percent have been leading the way here. Okay. So for the past week, and sometimes when you get a week move, a 1 week move, that is, you might be seeing some interesting developments on the chart. I mean, look down here. That's a 1 week move down here. You've got another one up here in materials, and discretionary actually making a new high here after every one of these has been consolidating, some more than others. Healthcare off the bottom. Let's just take a quick look at it. You can see the healthcare line right there. Oh, wrong chart, wrong one. I'm sorry. I was right here. Diagonal tool. There we go. Oh, it's doing that. That's weird. Okay, that should be should be able to draw with that. Having some little challenges today. Oh, I was probably clicking on there. Okay, should be good now. Clicking on the same one, but there you have it. Not quite to a break above this level, but interesting. Okay, let's scoot over to this one. This is discretionary. Been sideways for a long time here. Okay, sideways again, but notice we're just breaking that high. What do you really see on discretionary, and what could be here that could be of interest to us? Now, of course, there are ETFs on discretionary. There are ETFs on healthcare. There are ETFs on materials as well. Just track this with me for a second. Here's the move up. Potential. It's actually kind of a flag pattern, even a triangle. It's a price pattern, though. You break out. Let's change some colors here. You break out, and then you retest near that level. And now what are we doing? The possibility of that trend coming up. I mean, what's leading the markets higher here? Okay, we could be seeing that. There are our materials right there. Kind of a sideways move again, but some real strength. So these could be part of a longer move. Something could be in play here. A quick note on that, just to show you on our regular market sector review. Let me bounce back to this and just highlight this chart right there. SPXEW, the equal weights. even in the 500, really strong move the last 2 days, much stronger than the S&P itself. It hasn't happened very often that we've seen the equal weights outpace the market on a day or even 2 days. This is a 2-day move thus far. The markets are closed, but you can see that right there. Test, 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 test. There's more support over here too. Of course, there is this high, but those are some big bars right there. Those are some big bars. Could we start to break up above this level? What does that mean? It all kind of ties into maybe some of the sectors, folks, that are also moving higher right now. Materials, discretionary, healthcare. That's where we're seeing the strength over the past 5 days. Certainly today too, but within the S&P 500, which is what we're looking at right now, we're seeing that as well. So let's do this. Let's hit our scan, and let's just see what happens to be moving over there within the scan as we look at the S&P specifically. And I want to highlight materials. So I'm going to go, okay, so we are in the scan tab. We want to drill down real quick because there are some changes occurring here on a weekly basis and on a daily for sure, and that might continue because we saw what value was doing. Value's outpacing growth, and the equal weight is outpacing the market. Don't see that too common. Okay, I'm going to change this. We've got the S&P 500. We're going to intersect that with our industries right now, and we're going to look at materials, all materials, and let's just see what's leading on a same 1 week basis here. There we go. What do we have that's really leading the way? Albemarle. Okay, Albemarle is lithium. 21%. China, just so you know, China, that's a big mover there too. I mean, that's huge. That's specialty material. That's chemicals. Specialty chemicals. Chemicals. Think about commodities there leading the way. I'd call that another this is really commodity group. Materials are commodities. Commodities. We haven't seen, could there be a shift coming into commodities now? There could be. Freeport, McMoran, copper, you've got, these are big moves over a 1 week time frame. So cool though, because you can see these right off of the Thinkorswim platform. Love to utilize this tool. Albemarle, yeah, lithium. China said they're going to be cutting back production on lithium. They benefit. You know, there is another company out there that does benefit from that. Let's just take a look at Albemarle, Eastman. I don't think Eastman is lithium, right? Lithium would be for used in electric power, battery type stuff. Yeah. So let's see, ALB. There you go. Okay, so a pretty big lift off the bottom. SQM. Now this is a Chilean company. That's kind of a bigger move, though. These guys are big on lithium as well. EWN? Oh, M. What was it? Eastman. Just type it in sometimes. Eastman Chemical. EMN. EMN. Okay, that actually broke down, but it just kind of recovered back up. Kind of interesting. I think Dow was in there and some others sort of off the bottom. We'll see. Some of these, but like I said, some of the value type companies. Can you see this move down here? Value. Could this be the rotation in some of these? Oh, value. Vale is actually that's actually, I was thinking about it. That's actually another chemical company. Vale right there. Okay, that has sort of this sideways channel. I was caught between value and Vale, but there you go. Still in the commodities group. All right, so just a few things to look at. Now I'm going to jump back over here because I did want to see also what's going on in healthcare. I mean, it's fascinating stuff. It's so fun to do, to be able to, I mean, it's very, very difficult to track these otherwise, but once you've got the platform, it's just so fast and easy. There were 27 companies in there. There are 61 in healthcare in the S&P 500, and there you go. I don't know why I'm getting that in there, this sub, but really? Huh. Maybe because I have it over here, S&P 500. Let me dump this and just see if that helps. It does. So, by the way, if that ever happens, just as a little side note, if you get that custom expression that you've maxed it out, because that was an interesting one. I wanted to, I mean, look at Zimmer's in the top 3. I couldn't see it because I had the S&P 500 open elsewhere, just as a side note, folks. Okay, that's all we were looking at. Okay, Let's come over here and let's take this off now. Boop, boop, boop. And now we're back at it. But there you go. Look at this. So you got pharmaceutical healthcare equipment is really starting to do well. Look at those 1 week moves, double digit in this range. What's happening down here? Double digit? Clearly think of value over here. These guys have been down for a while. Let's see. ZBH? ZBH. Oh, ZBH. Okay. Big move off the bottom here. Could it form a mini cup and handle right here? You see it? Or could there be a larger cup and handle? These are questions we don't know. But that's something that we could be looking at because that's a very, very sharp move to the upside. And you can see you did get past earnings. So it might be some sort of an indication or confirmation of the way the markets have reacted. I should say a confirmation past earnings of how the markets are reacting to earnings. It did beat expectations and maybe the guidance there as well. Okay. All right. So that's interesting. Just a quick one, just for the heck of it. What does the 5-year weekly look like? Oh, possible value over here. Sometimes when they've gone down as low as they have, that dividend yield, I noticed they didn't bump that, they didn't change that dividend yield at all. ZBH. Oh, it's just at 1%, not a lot. And by the way, any company that does pay dividends, of course, yeah, they can cut the dividend any time. But you can see over here, this is going back to 2020. 2020, actually 2020 over here. They've kept that dividend the same, but what has the stock price done? Down, 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 down. So there could be, obviously an increase in the dividend yield. We don't know if that dividend will continue, but there's a little bit of a track record there anyways. So maybe some strength off the bottom there. Something to maybe potentially, well, possibly keep an eye on as we look at this as well. Okay. Oh, good. Yeah, glad that was helpful, Riceberg. Yeah, I got to refresh this, guys, because I have totally messed this up. Changed it up a little bit. Okay, let's go back and just review some of the core elements of our discussion each and every week too. But I wanted to go through that process of seeing what's moving out there, why it might be moving, what's moving, why it could be moving, and then drill down into stocks. We did that. Now, back to our normal screen and taking a look at what we've got some other details on another front here. Let's go over here and let's look at our first indicator. We've talked about this from week to week. This is the McClellan oscillator. We actually talked about it last week, and we said when you dip below the -100 and then jump back up above the -70 off the bottom, McClellan himself, as he devised this indicator, stated you're looking at maybe a 2 to 3 week rally. That's played true again. It happens regularly. We've seen this happen for a while now. It doesn't have to happen, but it has happened over a period of time on a few different occasions. 2 to 3 week rally. That's taken us out to about what? 17? Well, you'd say well, I guess, 15 bars. I technically, no, what am I thinking? Yeah, 15. 15 bars themselves would be like a couple of weeks, 3 weeks or so. So it could rally up to maybe around 8, towards the end of August. But that's the minimum that he says, though. So sometimes it's rallied up more than that, as you could see. When we broke over here, yeah, we rallied more than 2 to 3 weeks for sure, right? Clearly a run there. A little bit of a lift with that, which shows us good longer term sort of strength with the summation index. That's McClellan summed over a period of time. It's just a longer term perspective. Where I think is really the most interesting here, though, that we look at on this particular set of indicators for this chart is that we did break out very, very nicely. And this is really a question we've always had when we do break up higher. Look at that advanced decline line. It's done extremely well. Now think about the number of advancers relative to decliners. We looked at the SPX EW. We're seeing a broader array of stocks that have started to really move higher here. that have started to take off. And this shows it. I mean, this is a very, very big spike. So you just have had more advancers in the NYSE, right? Again, that's about 2.700 plus, should put K in there, 2.700 stocks that have advanced higher collectively. And that, all else equal, is a real positive for market breadth. Oftentimes you need that market breadth for the trend to continue. We looked at the SPX EW, really quite positive here. Let's just continue on. Now, we did get that one Omen spike a little bit ago, right? Like a couple weeks back, the Hindenburg Omen. But we hadn't seen any more of those, and it's really the confluence of those, particularly as you start to dip back down and make a lower high, that you really need to be concerned with. And we have nothing like that. In fact, we're at an all-time new high. So for now, I would certainly say that Omen is going to be off the table. We just didn't see that. Maybe some of those stocks that were hitting lows, those 52-week new lows, that spike that Omen and create that with the highs, bounced off those bottoms, and we're getting that rotation. We're kind of seeing that a little bit. By the way, fascinating too, just all in hindsight here, looking at the 500, look at that. In hindsight, our 50% Fibonacci from the low here to the high here, it did anchor nicely over here. We had another short-term one that was a 61.8. But notice you had it anchoring over at this level. Folks, was that not an interesting bottom? How many weeks ago was that? That was back in April, like the first part of April, we could see it extending higher here. That's going back a little ways, and the market from that Fibonacci bounce that we'll look at, we like to look at those weekly fibs to see what is happening, what could happen, but this is just kind of a really cool sort of a reflective indication to look at in hindsight. Why do some traders use those fibs? What did that create in the market? That right there off that Fibonacci level was a 33.5% bounce. And remember, that did anchor at a major prior weekly high that was all the way over here. Interesting, huh? It was all tariff related, but it was a little bit overdone. And some traders did buy near that 50 with a really, some investors might have too, with a really maybe tight potential exit level. And it was also at a big round number, 5,000. So anyway, sometimes when you look at a lot of stuff in the market, some traders will say, well, the market's a little bit fair sometimes. If you look at enough, if you're seeing something, sometimes it will give you enough indications where you say, gosh, there's just a lot of indications of something might unfold. No guarantee that it will, but it's maybe a little bit more fair if you know about more indications than not, if you're using those. Fair, is that a good word? I don't know. You can see more, and sometimes you realize that after the fact. We've done this something similar with the volume profile as well. But you have to have enough things to look at, that's for sure. Okay. Really interesting insight here that we had not seen for quite a while. That is a new high on the NYSE number of new highs on the NYSE. We did not make a new high over here. That is strength. And that number alone on the NYSE suggests significant market breadth. Okay. We saw that, but maybe some of those overlooked sectors, and I'm saying maybe something outside of the massive tech stocks, maybe there could be a rotation in here. You guys saw that spike in the growth in value, right? That growth in value indicator that I had. Yeah. So growth versus value. Okay, let's go to the next one here and just continue. Now, tying all this into seasonality. Generally, on average, we'll go sideways in August. But you'll notice with August, is it sideways? Well, it is. It's sort of sideways, but there is a little bit of a higher high and a higher low. This year has been really spiking. And if the tariffs kick in the way that the administration has been anticipating and really creating a level playing field since the 1930s, I mean, we're getting close to 100 years ago where we actually had a level playing field. After World War II, everything shifted and we never shifted back out of it. Um, if that could really make a big impact, well, maybe there's just more strength we'll see this year. The question is, though, is will we see something come up, let's just say in September here? What do we see in September? Do we see the traditional seasonal weakness that you'll find on a 5, 10, 20-year chart where you are pulling back? Now, some of those will lead in a little bit into October, but October tends to fall to October and then rally. Now, that's just on average. Anything can happen on any given year, of course. But when you add them all together, there are a number of years that look very, very similar to the average. We'll see if we get that kind of year and the kind of follow through at the end. Some traders will anticipate that follow through at the end of the year if they see seasonality come back and start to kind of mirror what it has done in the past. No guarantees, of course, never is, but sometimes when it shows a seasonal, it might act like one of those seasonal average type years. This, again, folks, this was all tariffs, this whole thing. Normally, we did dip. Normally March is a strong year, but now we got a couple of huge data points that broke down March. One was the COVID situation. Now the next one was tariffs. So March is pretty much will be slammed for several years, probably because it was such a big pullback in the markets for those 2 years, this year and the 2020 year. But normally March is a strong year. All that aside, this seasonality, we'll see if it does continue to unfold. It could be fascinating if it does. And we can keep a watch on some of those other areas. Now, here is the S&P 500 on a very, very short-term basis. Well, it's a 30-minute chart. This can be helpful too because we are making new highs. And just like I talk about in my swing trade class, and by the way, I do want to say thank you very much to Cameron May here for covering that class. He always does a great job. That's that swing trade class. Thank you, Cam, for covering that yesterday as I was out doing some things I needed to get done. But tie this all back in. Can you see swing trades here? Kind of like you'd see if this was like a daily chart over here. This is, let's say, a daily. If the market's trending, you get the natural ebbs and flows. If you're going to go higher, you got to be making higher highs and higher lows when the market ebbs and flows. And on a daily chart, we see this regularly. We're on a 30-minute here, but some of the traders, depending upon your time frame, you might be looking at a 30-minute chart. Do you see something similar happening over here? Just curious what you see. You might be seeing higher highs and higher lows, and maybe you can pick up on some of those swing trades even happening on a short-term bounce. Kind of a setup as well. Okay? So that is there. You can check it out. Okay. Now, I wanted to just share this because if you did want to take a look at that class that Cam taught, I'm going to go ahead and just clear this off. By the way, you've got this here as well. Encourage you guys to subscribe. Love to have you on board if you're not already on Trader Talks. We have over 160,000 subscribers right now. I'd love to have you on board if you're not already. If you're getting value out of these presentations, do me a favor, just smash that like button. It really makes a difference. It lets me know. It helps with the YouTube algorithm to get this kind of content coming up for you guys a little bit more frequently. So you can take advantage of that. But under these playlists over here, you can come on down here. Oh, there he is right there. Cam's got his other class too. Technical Analysis Concepts. Excellent class. Encourage you to take a look at that as well. But he covered for me right there. And look at that. 3 ways to plan a measured move. Stock swing trades. Fantastic. That's all right there, folks. If you want to take a look at that or any of these classes, encourage you to do so. If you like that swing trade time frame, like I said, it can be used on a shorter term time frame, no doubt about it. Okay? No doubt about it. There you go. I send that through yet? There it is. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So do you see these over here? And so I think it can be fascinating, and I think a number of traders can too, to watch that shorter term and see how it plays out with the other time frames out there. How does it unfold? Are you getting higher highs and higher lows? Some traders will look at this range right there and start to say, okay, Higher highs, higher lows. Are we resuming that long-term daily trend? We call it the long-term daily. It's actually, it's just the daily, the short-term relative to the long-term. But these little bumps up, we see the same similar type of thing unfolding on a daily relative to a weekly chart too. You guys have probably seen that. By the way, hey, Sharon, I don't know if Sharon's here, but Sharon brought something to my attention, and she hadn't seen it, but she said, "Hey, Mike, is there a kind of an average out there? I should say an equal weight for the NDX." As a matter of fact, there is. It's a long sort of a symbol, but it's fascinating. It only shows like lines based on the closing price. I've never used this before, but I wanted to add it as soon as I found it. So I appreciate Sharon just thinking through it. Here it is, just so you guys have it. I'm going to put it on just so you've got it too. It's a long one, but let's put it over here. I'm going to put it right into the chat here for you. Boom, boom. There you go. It's an equal weight of the NDX. Why would that be interesting? Well, the NDX is mainly technology, but it's also other areas too. Okay. And when technology really starts to lead the way, and you can see over here, there's a few things I've got to mention about this actually to have it make sense here. But we look at, so we don't have, there it is, NASDAQ 100. So you can see the weighting of these. Now look at some of these other smaller ones in here, these other companies. I mean, this is obviously tech. First of all, tech, Broadcom, tech, NVIDIA. You've got Microsoft, Amazon, Google. Oh my gosh, you got a double. If you make that double, I mean, that's just a class shares difference. Combine those together for Alphabet, really. I mean, and you've got Meta. You've got, I think I'm hitting the Mag 7 basically here, but you've got also Meta. You've got, this area is pretty big. But what else you're also getting is some of these other areas, like, look at this. There are staples in here. And there is healthcare in here too. Believe it or not, there are industrials in the 100. You've actually got energy and utilities as well. When this leads the way higher, you're still seeing tech, big tech, also make a push. But it can make a push, but some of the valuations here, that's why I think this is so interesting. It's still making a push, but it hasn't always made that push, as you can see over here. This last few weeks, it did make a push higher. But you'll notice that some of the other areas, in terms of an equal weight, folks, they were strong. I mean, they had been strong as well. So it's interesting. It's a fascinating sort of leading indicator, one I want to tap into in a little bit more detail later on and down the road. Okay, but anyways, I wanted you to have it. I just put it as a comparison so you guys can check it out. Lastly, let's go ahead and just look at our sector rotation grid. I'm going to go through here and just see if, yeah, so this just shows, what might be showing relatively strong strength in the market, all else equal. Well, what's been moving up relative to the market? Right there is materials. I don't know what happened to my title. That's materials, though. Materials is starting to move a little bit. Just a little bit. I think over here we've got discretionary. Some have been really breaking down as of late. Healthcare, not too much off the bottom, but we can watch it. This could be an interesting one too. I will share this with you guys now just so you have it, if you don't have it yet. And by the way, this is also listed in the description section below YouTube if you're viewing this in the archive as a recording. Okay, so I'll have that link down there for you, but there you go right there, folks. That is for that. All right. Well, I'm going to work on getting my growth and value charts pulled up. But this relative performance can be really, really helpful. The last thing I'll just show you here on X, and by the way, as I mentioned, you can follow Cam and I on X, Cameron Macy X, Mike Fairborn CS as well. Put the CS in there for Charles Schwab, of course. But let's just pull this up right now. I'll just highlight this for you. This is just something that I put up here. This is the kind of multi-day RS performance versus the index. Its index, and this is the one on the NDX as well. I'll just click on that real quick so you can just kind of get a sense of that. But yeah, it'll just show you, some setups. We're going to take a look at this scripting tomorrow. where it does state for the stocks itself, outperforming NDX for the last 3 days, relative to the RS. I also want to have one here for you guys tomorrow on the TTM squeeze, which I think could be a helpful coding specifically on this as well. But if that's something you like, maybe that's something you'll tune into tomorrow in that class. But there you have it. There is the X link here, and again, Cameron Mays is Cameron May CS. All right, everybody. Well, it has been great being with you. We'll keep an eye on the markets and keep an eye on maybe some of those value companies that have been outperforming as of late. Again, some of those sectors are starting to break up over a long-term flag range. Kind of draws our attention into a little bit, especially as we see strength across equal weights, really across the board in a number of these areas. So with that, hope you have a fantastic rest of the day. Thank you so much, Cam, for your help in the chat. Look forward to future discussions. See you all next time. Bye-bye.